Yeah, you're listening to Following On, and what a fabulous day of Test cricket we've had in Ahmedabad. Not so much the runs scored, but incident after incident. I'm Mark Nicholas, and over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be joined by the former England bowlers Darren Gough and Steve Harmison as we look back on a day in which 13 wickets fell. India closed on 99 for 3 after England were bowled out for just 112. Yep, 112, having won the toss and, of course, chosen to bat first. So let's find out what went wrong, find out whether they can claw it back, in fact find out where England are in this fascinating cricket match. This is Following On. Yeah, Goughy and Harmy, Darren and Steve, Harmison and Gough, they're here alongside me, guys. The facts make for bad reading, but I was very interested in Neil Manthorpe's commentary towards the end of play. He kept saying it's not irretrievable, and he's right, isn't it? You bowled out for 112, opposition to 99 for 3, but this game, because of the pitch, really, is not irretrievable.
It's not at all, and I talked about it before. England going in now thinking realistically we get ball India out for less than 200. That's what they've got to be thinking going into the game. And then they say, well, India have got to bat last on this pitch. We talk about winning it, you've got to get runs on the board. England failed to do that. So their next best chance of winning is not conceding too big a lead. And that wicket there at the end, getting Virat Kohli, the great Virat Kohli out, was massive. The only thing would have been better if they could have took Rohit Sharma with them as well, because he can take the game away from England. He's the one player, and Rishabh Pant, by the way, who's going to come in yet. He's another player who could come in and smash 40 or 50 and test match over.
Goughy, the things that didn't go England's way, and I'm not saying that any of them should have done, actually, but the things that didn't go England's way were real heartbreakers, weren't they, on so many occasions? But the stumping that went in favour of Rohit Sharma in that last half an hour was the sort of the coup de grace. If you like, there were two moments. The drop catch in the gully that actually didn't cost so much because Kohli was out, but the drop catch in the gully showed us England had played some pretty ordinary cricket in the day, and then England had bad luck was well illustrated by the stumping. So what happened? He goes forward as Rohit Sharma, he drags his foot just an iota, a few millimetres, Folks whips the bails off, he pushes his foot back, but it's in the air, and what's impossible to know is whether it was touching the grass or not, because there's a bit of a crater in that foothole, and the third umpire, without even bothering to look at a second angle, took an immediate decision to give it in. I don't mind that he took the decision to give it in. I do mind that he didn't examine it rather more closely. Well,
very confident third umpire we've got, haven't we? We've had it in the past where we've had some umpires. I remember we've had official an Australian where used to, I'm not going to the third umpire to have a look at that. I'm out here, I'm making the decision. That's out, my old son.
Had to have been Darrell Hare, was it?
Darrell Hare. Remember in Sydney, the run out? Of course, there's a test match. He went on and got 80 or 90, might have got 100.
Was that Michael Slater?
It's Michael Slater.
He went on to get 100 out of nothing.
And it cost
they
us.
only got about 190
yeah, it cost us the game. We would have levelled that series 2-all.
Yes, you would. You're right. Yeah.
And it would have been a great series.
I was there. Yeah.
You're not bitter though, are you, Darren?
Well, no, because the point is, though, is today, but whether it's out or not out, for the benefit of both teams, you have to look at all different angles. And it's same as the Ben Stokes situation. We're not saying it's because it's not gone in England's favour, but you've got to look at the all angles. That's what he's there for. You can't just look at one and say, yeah, that's my decision.
Better explain this to those who don't know. Ben Stokes' catch you're talking about.
Yeah, sorry, Ben Stokes.
Did it carry or didn't it carry?
Yeah, and the first camera angle, it was very hard to tell. It looked like, oh, hang on a minute, it looked like he might have touched the floor with it. But we haven't seen any other angle of that dismissal, that catch. And from a different angle, he might have seen his fingers under the ball. And it's very hard to make a decision when you're looking at one camera angle. We've seen it in so many other sports. You have to look all around. I've no idea why haven't they not got it because it's a new ground? I mean, why haven't they got all the camera angles covered?
Well, I think they have got the camera angles covered. They just don't want to show us, and then that's what worries me more than anything else about the third or the TV umpire. The first one with Ben Stokes, he's gone to catch the ball. It's hit the ground, and you could just see from the first camera angle that it's potentially hit the ground. But that's all he's gone off, and he's gone, right, that's not out. So Ben Stokes wasn't happy, Joe Root wasn't happy, and if I was on the field, I'd be rightly so. I wouldn't be happy because you can't give that not out off that angle. 20 seconds later, they showed the camera angle of the ball just a little bit further. The camera rolled on a little bit, and you could clearly see the ball has probably touched the ground. Where this one, we've seen it once. The third umpire's made a decision, the stumping, and he hasn't. And we haven't seen it again, and we haven't seen the stump camera angle. We haven't seen an angle from the other side, which worries me a little bit. That where the TV directors, not so much he hasn't asked for it, but why are we not seeing it again? And that's what worries me a little bit.
No, we agree. We should have seen it again, categorically. Now let's get tough, all right, boys. Let's get tough. This is the hard part of tonight's show. England lost 8 for 27. 8 for 38, sorry, in 27 overs. 8 for 38 in 27 overs. The 5th worst collapse from 8 wickets to the end of the innings in English cricket's history. Not since 1948 had anything been so dreadful. That was 8 for 35 against the Australians at the Oval. 8 for 38, boys.
Well, to be fair, it had a bit of a 90s feel to it, didn't it? Where 2 spinners on.
Al Malal coming in at number 11.
I remember these days. We had a long tail there where it went bang, 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 bang. But yeah, it was slightly embarrassing. And I think, listen, I think if Joe Root comes on and did an interview tonight, he'd say it was, listen, people didn't have a plan for some reason. I don't know what the thinking was going into the game. We seem to see a lot of dismissals, actually, fall to non-spinning left-armers. Well, I'm not saying they don't spin the ball, but the reason the wickets have fell today is for the straight honour. How many players in our side, in England's team, miss straight balls? And then we've just seen Virat Kohli, although he obviously nicked it onto the stumps, it was another straight ball.
I can tell you from a batsman's point of view, what it tells you is that the idea of spin in India has gone into their head.
I just think, personally, I think the pressure of, 1, the crowd, 2, the fielders round, and as soon as they've seen it start spinning, they're just automatically going, right, let's get spin. The techniques have been come in question. We've had 7 dismissals out of 10 that have been either LBW or bowled. So that tells you, everything you want. The ball's just gone straight on.
Playing the wrong line, yeah.
And yes, you've got the wrong line, but then you've got pressure and the technique of, the batsman's technique and not being able to handle the pressure. Their defence is not good enough. What's the first thing you're told as a batsman in defence? And, play for your off stump. Well, that there tells you that when they're playing for their off stump, the technique's not good enough. Hasn't been good enough. And that they've been the top and bottom of England today. You can sugarcoat and say, right, we played either the wrong team. We can sugarcoat and say we've got a long tail. But at the end of the day, our top order batsmen didn't have the defensive technique to keep straight balls out from Axar Patel because he got the odd one to turn. And I feel that is the top and bottom of what's happened with England today.
Oh, okay. I think that's probably right. I don't think we'd argue with that. I tell you, I just had a giggle to myself because in our studio we have these huge screens. So we've each got a booth, 7 of us. We've got a Perspex covered booth, or sort of locked into it, which is very good. It's all very well organised. We've got these two big screens that we work off. And Zach Crawley is the one doing the World Feed interview now. And I always laugh at the fact that the one bloke who played well and got 50 is going to have to answer for the other 10.
Yeah, you're right. And let's just say, actually, on Zach Crawley, what a terrific innings that was.
Against the Seamers.
And I think it was massive for him, actually, to start. We saw in Sri Lanka, he struggled, didn't he? He really struggled against the spinners starting off, and they opened with a left-arm spinner. But he got his opportunity to open the batting against that pink ball. The seamers came into play a bit more, and he got England off to a good start. He played some wonderful shots, timed the ball terrifically, to start with off his legs, and then started playing some lovely shots through the offside. But it's just, when you look at that scorecard and you go through it, it's amazing really, isn't it? You see him at the top, 53, number 1 batsman. And then the rest of them, as you go down there, struggle to get to double figures. Only Ben Foakes, really, and Joe Root getting to double figures. It was a disastrous scorecard. It was a sad scorecard. I said it in commentary. Looking at it, it was a sad scorecard.
You can actually blame Zach Crawley for it because he batted that well against the seamers. He blasted them out of the attack and got the spinners on early. They did the damage.
Blame Zach.
No, I tell you what, I'm just looking at the card. Let's just quickly run through it then. Crawley 53, then we go Sibley no score, Bairstow no score. That doesn't often happen. England, one of England's openers and number 3 getting 0, by the way. That's quite rare. Root 17, Stokes 6, Pope 1, Foakes 12, Archer 11, Leach 3, Broad 3. Anderson didn't get off the mark, 112 all out. Ouch. Winning the toss in India, batting first.
4 changes, again, more changes in the side. I said it could have...
4 changes today, yeah.
And they are playing, arguably the best side in the world, right? I know New Zealand are number one in the rankings, whatever, and they're already in the World Test Championship final. But this team, India, especially on home soil, are a brilliant side, and we are making change after change after change. So it's not easy for England. It's not easy at all. But going into this game with Johnny Bairstow, who's been sat at home walking his dog for a couple of weeks and then gone back out there, a horrendous journey he had getting back out there.
Then isolate when he gets there in quarantine.
Then isolate, then he's come out and had a couple of nets in probably pitches that were overdone, and then suddenly he's out there in a test match with 55,000 people in there facing the best off-spinner in the world and expected to
missing
perform.
a straight one.
Yeah, but there you go.
That's how hard the game is. I mean, that is how hard the game is.
It is, but you're saying it's not their fault, Darren. You can have sympathy with them, but they chose to do that. This is the choice of the selection panel. They've gone to India with 4 test matches and thought, right, this is how we think we can beat India over 4 test matches. You look at today and again go back to and keep harping on about the defense of the batsman, the technique. There's only 3 batsmen faced more than 30 balls out in India. 3 batsmen out of 11 have faced more than 30 balls. And when you're talking about how to build an innings and protect your off stump and really, really make the bowler come to you so you can then go and score. Well, for me, that's just that's a given. As a batsman, you have to hang your head and shame a little bit when you cannot protect your off stump for that long length of time.
That's a damning stat, actually.
Well, it's about partnerships as well, Mark, because if you look at our last 3 innings now in India, I mean, we've struggled to put a partnership together. We talk about when you're in these conditions and you're playing against spin and you're getting pressure created. It's about batting time. It's about waiting, rotating the strike and building a partnership. You saw how easy it looked there at one point for Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. Because they started to put a partnership together, the runs started to come, didn't they? The captain tried to make changes and bring different bowlers on. There were more loose deliveries and they started scoring at the best rate of the day in the last session under lights, which we all thought would be the most difficult time to bat, yet they scored more comfortable under lights.
You're surprised the ball didn't swing under lights?
Yeah, I was really surprised, I must admit. I thought, especially when I saw the first 10, 15 minutes this morning and we saw a little bit of movement, a bit of two-pace, you know what I mean, a bit of movement, a bit of wobble, I thought, it's definitely got to swing under lights. But if Jimmy Anderson isn't swinging it, no one is.
So marked difference between England before the dinner break and after the dinner break. For 6 overs, I think it swung round. It really, really swung. Jimmy Anderson got it swinging nicely. Had his seam position for the away swinger. Absolutely beautiful to Rohit Sharma. And Ishant and Bumrah, early doors, got it swinging in. There was a period after where you were thinking, well, actually, have the lights took full effect now? Has the dew have any effect? Is the temperature dropping so the ball's possibly not swinging as much? So it'll be interesting to see if that is the period in the game where it is tough. At what point when India were fielding, when India were bowling at England, at what point at the end of the innings when the ball was old, how long is that period? So there was 6 overs there for Anderson and Broad. There was an old ball at the back end of England's innings. So in that period, if there's an hour or an hour and a half where it is at its toughest, that's when that's all it's going to do.
Right, thank you. Interesting. We'll come back to you, Harmy, in a moment because we've got Zach Crawley with us now. Zach, hi, it's Mark here.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
No, I'm great. I'm much more interested in how you are, though.
I'm well. It's a tough day for us. We're a little bit behind the game, but a good day tomorrow puts a lot of things to right.
Before we get into the wider picture, let's just talk about your own batting. You've had a fair while not playing. When did you start hitting balls again?
Started hitting balls again at the start of the second test. Loosely,
good. Okay.
Just a few underarms and that. So I've had a bit of time to practice and get ready for this test.
So the wrist is fine, and you obviously felt good today. The feet were moving, and you timed it well.
Yeah, I felt in good touch today. It was a nice pitch to bat on against the seamers early. And then obviously against the spin early, it didn't seem too bad. And then all of a sudden it changed quite drastically, and the odd ball was shooting and the odd ball was spinning, so it made it a lot more difficult. But it was nice to get some runs.
I was going to ask you about the pitch actually, because it seems two-paced.
Yeah, definitely two-paced. For the seamers, from back of a length, it's quite slow, and then for the spinners, especially Axar Patel, he's quite good at getting one to really skid on. and then one to turn. And obviously, we know Ashwin can do that on any pitch. But I think this pitch suited Axar Patel quite nicely, and he bowled well, to be fair to him.
How did it feel? This is, this tour of the subcontinent, your first sort of experience of having the fielders round the bat and the kind of energy and noise and all the stories of the past of how difficult and how mentally demanding that is. Would you say that you quickly got that?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge to start with in your career, and it's something that I'm not used to, especially in Sri Lanka when I was facing the new ball, and obviously over here I'm not used to the noise and things like that. But it's something that you get used to pretty quickly, I think, and I'm starting to get a bit more comfortable each knock. It's almost like I'm starting my career all over again. Really, I'm getting those similar sort of feelings when I first started out.
We're saying that it's a shame England haven't got the second spinner, which would be Dom Bess in this case, in the side. I'm not asking you to comment on selection, but clearly now, after one day, we're seeing that this is a pitch that's going to spin quite a lot.
Yeah, I think it will spin. I mean, if we'd have got a few more runs, things would look a bit different from our bowling lineup, and we'd have helped our bowlers out a bit more if we'd have got 250, and if they were 100 for free and we had 250 on the board, we'd be well on top. But unfortunately, we didn't get the runs, and put our bowlers under a bit of pressure today, and hopefully they can get us out of it tomorrow.
We've just been talking here in the studio about the fact that all the little things that sometimes go your way in a day's cricket, and arguably did perhaps at times in the first test, went against you today. All the tight decisions, all the questionable reviews, all that kind of thing. It was one of those infuriating days, and it tends to be the payment that you make for not batting quite so well. Is the dressing room frustrated, or is that last-minute wicket of Kohli such a boost that you can put that behind you?
No, it's a massive boost, that last week at Kohli. So, we've definitely got some positives to go through to tomorrow. There's definitely some frustrations there. Like you say, all the 50-50 seem to go against us today. But like you say, that's the way it goes. They went our way, maybe perhaps in the first game. They went away. They went against us today. So, like you say, if we'd have got a few more runs, and we probably wouldn't be as frustrated as we were with those dismissals. We'd probably just accept them. But being behind the game, we need those things to go our way, and they didn't today.
Finally, Darren Gough's just been saying on air that this is still, with a brilliant bowling performance tomorrow, this is still a changeable game. It is by no means only one-way traffic.
Oh, massively. No, absolutely. If you see the way the pitch was behaving today, if we get any sort of, if we bowl them out tomorrow and then get any sort of lead, we've got a good chance. We can, but it's one of those pitches, fourth innings, you could bowl someone out really cheaply. So there's absolutely nowhere near over yet. It doesn't even need an extraordinary day. I think it's just a decent day tomorrow and keep ourselves in the game. And an extraordinary day would be nice though to get bowl them out for late 100, something like that. Get
that Rohit Sharma out, mate. Listen, thank you for your time. Sorry, we've gone on a bit. I've taken advantage of knowing the family. Zach, thank you. Good to chat.
And you. Cheers.
He talks well. Goffey?
Yeah, he does talk well. Let's say I've got a lot of time for Zach. Good golf partner, and obviously a fantastic worker on his game. And he'd have been disappointed in Sri Lanka. He talked about how difficult it was. He was learning all the time, facing left-arm spin when he first goes in. He might experience that going forward in the second innings. We might see the left-arm spin opening the batting, so he's going to have to go back to facing spin straight away. But today, facing the new ball, two seamers, he got off to an absolute flyer and he played some terrific shots, and it was a well-deserved knock, and he much needed knock actually from a young player when you're playing against a team like India. But as I said, the rest of the lineup just didn't perform today. They got out. He says it suited Axar Patel, the pitch, but you've got to play it better. Whether it's down to techniques, as Army's talked about and you've talked about, or whether it's just the mentality. They thought they'd won the toss. They're going to go out there and get 280 to 300 today, and they're going to win the game. It didn't work out that way.
I actually think this Axar Patel is a seriously good bowler, right?
Me too.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We know our Ashwin is a seriously good bowler. And I think that they exploited all of England's weaknesses today, absolutely on purpose. I think they knew what they were trying to do to each batsman. whether it was the use of the quicker ball, whether it was the Karims, the straight-oners, the overspinners, or whether that really hard spun.
See what you're saying there, though, Mark? You're saying exactly. It's the variation, both of them.
Yeah.
They are so good, both of them. They've got natural variation. That's what they also talk about. The problem with Jack Leach, although I think he's bowled well this series, you know what you're getting. You know what I mean? He puts it in. He's a left-arm spinner, isn't he? Just a left-arm orthodox spinner.
Bowled very well today.
Yeah,
actually.
bowled beautifully
He did.
today. And
Credit
he's
to
bowled
him.
all right in the series. But he hasn't got that mystery of Akshar Patel
good
or the
point.
mystery of Ashwin. And that's the difference.
But the things that you've described, this is Test cricket. This is the ultimate of the game. You know, you're playing for your country. You know, this is what you should expect. This is what you want to bring the best out of you. You know, there was a crowd there and everything that goes. Zach Crawley played well, but you're facing Ashwin. I thought Ashwin he used the wicket, round the wicket and over the wicket well for the right and left hander to create the angle. But this is Test match cricket. We're not playing second team club cricket. We're playing against the very best in their back garden, and we've got to learn quickly, because if we don't get runs on the board, and we have in the past, look, England have been bowled out for 112. In the last 5 or 6 away Test matches, we've scored runs because we've won games. But this game, we come up short because we played against a very, very good side in our own back garden, and we weren't good enough.
You've got to find one of the great balls, Harmy. I mean, one of the staggering gambles
One
that
of
pays
the
off.
staggering ones, yes.
And a good point, actually, on the spinners today. They were very clever. You're right. They've worked England out, but both of them went over and round the wicket. And they kept changing it. So they've obviously gone away and chatted a lot, keep the players guessing how much he's spinning, creating different angles. And when Zach finally, and what Zach Crawley said there is, but we need an all right day. No, you need an amazing day tomorrow. But they're not out of this, but they need an amazing day
Yes,
tomorrow.
but that's a
they
clever-
need something special.
It's a clever thing of him to say, to take expectation away, to take pressure off yourself. I kind of get why a player would say that.
Yeah, but
you're
we don't
right
have
about
to.
understanding the batsman, because the batsmen have decided to play with bat in front of pad, take bat and pad out of it. Root tends to play alongside the ball more than the others. The others tend to get the rail going, the bat in front of the pad, and so all the changes of angles means that you do miss the odd straight ball. Anyway, fascinating conversation. Thank you. Great to chat. Enjoyed it. My concern is England's batting in the second innings. I think they will bowl India out tomorrow, and for a very respectable score. But I just worry about how they'll cope with the bat in the second innings. Anyway, that's so far ahead it doesn't bear thinking about. So as we say, good night to all of you listening. We just wind the clock back and reflect on a day that, as I said at the start of the show, was full of incident.
Here is Ishant bowls. Back of the length, edge taken by Rohit Sharma at second slip. Ishant has the early breakthrough.
England already one down. Dom Sibley back in the hutch.
Akshar Patel is into the attack. Left arm around the wicket. First ball, Johnny Bairstow taken on the pad. Out LBW. In comes Ishant. 2 slips in the gully waiting. It's the inducker. Clipped into the leg side by Zach Crawley.
And that's a beautiful stroke. Wowee, we love it. Joe Root drives down the ground like the master he is.
Akshar is in again. That is short. Punched off the back foot by Crawley. And that's another boundary. And Crawley has 50. His 4th Test 50.
Well, take a bow.
Ashwin in. Root taken on the pad. That's very close to LBW. Given! England 74 for 3 as Joe Root walks off LBW to Ashwin for 17 made from 37 balls.
And they've beaten him. Yes, LBW, it sort of had to be. Crawley half forward, the ball runs in with the arm, and I think Ben Stokes is saying, yeah, it doesn't look good, Zach.
Here's Ashwin round the wicket.
Bowled
in, he's hit the top of off stump. Ollie Pope's been done by the straight honour, and they are 81 for 5. Big appeal for leg before wicket, it might be a bit high, up goes the finger. Akshar Patel's got Ben Stokes for the moment. I fancy England's all-rounder may well review this.
it's
clipping the top of middle and off.
This is horrible for England. Horrible, horrible. It's a nightmare.
Akshar Patel in his stance picks the bat up, bowled in. Just late on it, that's all. Quicker, smarter, better.
England are 93 for 7.
Is Ashwin again, and that carries, does it? It does, it carries to gully. What a lovely, simple bit of cricket.
Akshar Patel in, plays the sweep, does Stuart Broad, gets the top edge, into the deep, caught! Akshar Axar Patel has 5, and England on the verge of being dismissed. They're 105 for 9.
Fuchswaits taps the ground, goes back to Cutby's bowled in. And India have got a strong position in the game because they've bowled England out for next to nothing here.
And then watching Stuart Broad going in, bit of a grunt, takes the edge, and it's taken by Stokes, low down to his right.
And Stokes is not dropping that. No chance. Oh, maybe he has.
Ben Stokes is actually full on laughing and shaking his head. He can't believe that.